please stop asking me at parties and get-togethers if I'm having kids. Here's what I'm thinking. Let me know down in the comments what you're thinking. Hey everyone, Dana here. I like to think of myself as a pretty open person. I share a lot about myself on this channel, and when I go to parties or get-togethers, I like to talk about a range of different topics. But I have to say, there are a few questions that I would be totally fine and very happy actually if nobody ever asked me at a party or get-together again. And I specifically say at a party or get-together because I'm not necessarily saying that I wouldn't be up for talking about these topics with my friends, but I am definitely over people that I just met at a party asking me these things. And in this video, it is specifically about me getting asked at parties and get-togethers if I want to have kids. Or the even more offensive phrasing of the question, so when are you having kids? And just as a side note before I get into it, this is a question that I have gotten from men and women. Whenever this happens, I'm just thinking like, oh my God, I just met you at a party. This is seriously none of your business. Why are you asking me this question? And then I think like, okay, if you're asking me this question because you would actually like to share with me whether you're planning on having kids or your thoughts on motherhood or fatherhood, and you're asking me about my procreation plans as a way to try to segue into talking about your procreation plans, please, I would say just go ahead and tell me what you're thinking about, your plans on the topic, if you'd like to, rather than asking me about my plans on the topic to try to be polite. You know, that's really not necessary, and I'd actually rather you didn't. Just tell me what you're thinking if you'd like to. And not only is it such a personal topic, but it could also be a really hard topic for some people to talk about. That person at the party has no idea what the person they just asked could possibly be going through. Maybe they've been trying for years to have a kid and they haven't been able to. Maybe they had a miscarriage. Maybe they just found out they're pregnant and they aren't ready to tell anyone yet. Maybe they just found out they're pregnant, but they didn't want to get pregnant. Maybe a million other scenarios like that they just don't feel like talking about that very personal choice of having kids or not with someone who they just met. Pregnancy and having kids is such a private, personal thing, and yet for some reason, many people seem to think that it's fair game for party, get-together, small talk, chit-chat. But I'm guessing that those same people wouldn't bring up other super personal body-related things. So yeah, I don't know, maybe a good rule of thumb is like, if you wouldn't start asking me about the ins and outs of my period at a party, you probably shouldn't be asking me about my plans to have kids. How do you feel about people asking you at a party about your plans for having kids? Let me know down in the comments. And what makes these questions even more I guess like hard to stomach for me or uncomfortable. What makes it even more uncomfortable for me is that my answer to the question is no. That's not the problem. That's not what makes it tricky. I'm not planning to have kids, and I'm totally cool with that. When I was younger, I thought that at some point I would get older and start to feel this like, yearning to have kids, but that never happened. I'm 32 and I have no desire, no yearning to have kids, and I have no problem with that whatsoever. That's my decision, and I am totally happy with it. And I also have no problem telling people that and saying that, except it is very rare that I say that I answer their question that I didn't actually want to be asked in the first place. I say, no, I'm not planning to have kids. I say that, and then it is very rare that the other person just says something like, oh, okay, cool. No, that rarely happens. More often than not, the person that I just met now decides to weigh in on the topic, to give me their, unprofessional, unasked for opinion about what they think my future will hold. Well, I'm sure you'll change your mind, and don't worry, you still have plenty of time. Are two of the most annoying. These responses are annoying to me because they completely and utterly invalidate my decision. They invalidate what I just told that person. I said I'm not planning to have children, and their response basically boils down to, you're wrong. That I, a stranger that you just met at a party, know you better than you know yourself. Like, what? For 99% of other conversation topics, nobody would ever respond this way. Are you planning to go on vacation this year? Yes, we're planning to visit Prague with my parents. Oh, Prague, yeah. I'm sure you'll change your mind. No, people don't say that. People don't respond to it like that for other topics. And that's not to say that I am 100% sure that Stefan and I won't change our minds, but that's still not something for a stranger to assert as a response. We could also change our mind about going to Prague. It still doesn't make any sense for that to be the response that someone gives when they find out that we're planning to go to Prague. Another annoying response that I've gotten is, that's a shame. That's a shame? Okay, recap. You asked me if I'm planning to have kids. I said no. You respond with, that's a shame? Again, this person just met me. They have no idea why I'm not having kids. The fact of the matter is that it's a choice. So this response from them simply annoys the crap out of me. But what if someone isn't planning on having kids for a medical reason? The person responding with, that's a shame, has no idea. This question and this response could be really hard for someone. It could possibly really hurt. At the very least, for me, it's just super annoying and makes me want to roll my eyes as hard as I can. And I have no idea what to respond back then. What do I say back to that? No, I don't think it's a shame. I'm very happy with my decision. Let me know down in the comments any ideas for how I could hopefully politely continue the conversation or respond back in this case. And as far as feeling comfortable about talking about how I don't plan to have kids, it doesn't help that hanging over these conversations is the fact that I know from living in this society and existing in this society for 32 years that a good bit of our society, even in the year 2019, still seems to consciously or unconsciously think that it's like a woman's duty to have kids and that she's somehow shirking her duty by not having kids, and that women who don't want to have kids are often outright labeled or often kind of thought of as selfish, which is not true. I will link to some interesting articles that I've read on the topic down in the description box below. But yeah, that women who aren't planning on having kids are more often labeled as selfish than men who aren't planning to have kids. I know this, and all of this is hanging over the conversation when someone asks, so, are you going to have kids? All that is there. As I said, I will link to some interesting articles on the topic of not having kids and how society judges people, especially women who aren't planning on having kids. And yeah, I think getting into all of that would be a whole other video, but I just want to leave with this thought. If it makes you feel uncomfortable or angry or like you judge someone for planning to not have kids, please take a moment to stop and ask yourself why. Why does someone else's decision to not have kids upset you? What feelings are you feeling because of that? And yeah, maybe think about why you're feeling that way. Wow, okay, a lot in this video. As I said, I will link to some interesting articles on the topic of not having kids in English and German down in the description box below. So my question for you is, what are your thoughts on this topic? Have you experienced or witnessed the kinds of exchanges, questions, responses that I mentioned in this video? What are some of your thoughts on how to deal with these questions and responses? Please let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoy my videos, please don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. New videos on Monday afternoons. There are some more videos to check out over here. We've got new t-shirt designs down here. We've got a new Einhörnchen t-shirt, a Heiße Zitrone t-shirt, a Good Luck Pig t-shirt, and the t-shirts have designs on them that I drew, the little drawings on there. So yeah, thanks so much for your support of Wanted Adventure and checking out the t-shirts, and see you next Monday for another video. Until next time, auf Wiedersehen.